Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another great episode of Ion Franchising. I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So today's a great one. Home services franchise brands are hot, super hot. And boy, these guys, I don't know what I could say about these guys, but they're in the business of cooling things down. And that's what they do for a living. So I'm not going to tell you about what that is just yet. So I'll give you a little teaser introduction. Entrepreneurship obviously fuels their passion. They do franchise development for a living. They take folks from being a potential candidate, basically trying to understand which brands might fit them best. And they take these candidates and hopefully make them future business owners. And we'll talk about the brand today that is, like I said, super, super hot, and their business is, these guys are super, super cool. And the business is 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. Welcome to the show, Chad and Michael.
Thank you, Lance. Pleasure to be on.
You're welcome, gentlemen. All right, Chad Harrison, you're up first. Give us your history. How the heck did you get into franchising? We know nobody was waking up years ago thinking, I'm going to get into franchise, because nobody really even knew what that was probably back then. So how'd you get into it, Chad?
That's a great question. Similar background to yourself. 20 years, restaurant business, restaurant management, and then the sales, combination of sales. And then, with a move within the last 2 years, I was looking around and something new and coming across franchise. And as we've discussed in the past, what someone looks at the beginning of a franchise career, I had little knowledge in it for sure. And so now linked up with Mr. Hutchins, Michael Hutchins here, and learning from him, and excited. It's a big world for sure.
Awesome. Well, that's wonderful. So Mr. Michael Hutchins, tell us about you. How'd you get into franchising? You weren't born into this, right?
No, I was not born into franchising, but now time goes quick. I'm a 20 plus year veteran, executive level franchise professional, but I got into it really by accident. I was out playing golf and ran into one of my customers from when I lived in New Jersey. I was out in Arizona now at the time, and we crossed paths, and he was in charge of franchise sales for a hotel company, and he's a very good salesman. So after about a year of, wanting me to join his team, I decided to give it a try, and never look back. I love working with entrepreneurs. It's exciting, rewarding in a lot of different ways. And, I've been an individual producer, someone who's led, developed successful teams. I've been in a variety of industries, and now I've got a great home with Authority Brands, and I manage the growth of the 1 Hour Heating and Air brand across the United States.
Yeah. So talk about Authority Brands a little bit. They own 1 Hour Heating and Air, and they also own some other brands as well. They love franchising, obviously.
Yes, Authority Brands. I mean, they started. It's a relatively new company. They started with one brand several years back. Now we're up to 12. We added just a few just this year, but they're all in the home services. And really, I have franchisees in 1 Hour that also have America's Swimming Pool. They have Ben Franklin Plumbing, Mr. Sparky Electric. But, there's so many synergies because we want to own the home inside and out. And so our franchisees can also, in addition to adding additional territory with a single brand, they're able to layer on additional Authority brand concepts and service additional needs from the same customer. And so, we're continuing to grow. We have, we share marketing efforts, and it's really been a great ride.
That's awesome. So, even during the pandemic, everybody got to really understand what a essential business is. And now as we get to the, let's say, recession segment of our program, if you will, and I don't mean that in a positive way, but the reality is big correction in our economy. And, for obvious reasons, we have some pretty darn high inflation. And I talk to people, as you know, as a franchise broker every day. And when people start panicking. Oh my gosh, Lance, I don't know if I want that type of business. There's a recession coming. What do I do? And I smile like this and simply say, no worries. We can switch to recession-proof businesses, a la 1 hour heating and air conditioning, because it doesn't matter what's going on, in the economy. If you need air conditioning, and your ventilation system working effectively all the time. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. I mean, these last few years have, unfortunately impacted, other great concepts in a negative way. 1 hour being
Sadly.
an essential service, our owners, we've been up 30% year over year, the last several years in a row. As well as, some of our other trade brands, Mr. Sparky, Ben Franklin, and they've weathered the storm, not only weathered it, but, have really kind of thrived in that environment. People are spending more time at home. They have more time to dedicate to, home projects, whatever it may be. But what you alluded to is absolutely correct. No matter what, their home is their sanctuary. They're not going to go without heat in the winter, air conditioning in the summer. They're going to maintain that, and our business has grown.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. They need to understand the difference, because people get scared for the strangest reasons. I mean, a recession is a reason to get scared, but it's really get yourself some information on how to bypass it. I mean, there's a lot of people, like Mark Cuban was one of the first people during the pandemic that said, adversity during times of adversity, there's opportunity. And I happen to know, in the world of franchising, franchising typically does really well through recessionary periods. So happy to talk to you guys, both being experts in franchise development and 1 hour heating and air conditioning. Why don't you guys, Chad, start talking about how our process works, with 1 hour. I bring a candidate to you, somebody listening reaches out to me and says, Lance, those guys sound pretty cool. And it sounds like, literally cool. It sounds like a great opportunity. How does this process work? So walk us through the process, Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. So receive a little bit of information from yourself, the client, and begin that discussion, and confirming at first the territory, their interest is available, and then connecting with them. Kind of a qualified discussion at first. Just some standard details, investment range, and so forth, and then from my end, get them scheduled with Michael. And then Michael will begin his introduction to the brand.
Interrogation, you mean? Oh, introduction.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No, but you know what, Chad? And this question's for both of you guys. How do you know? You talk to a lot of people, and you guys know this. I tell people all the time that anybody can be an entrepreneur at any one point, depending on whose statistics you listen to. 65% of America wants to be their own boss. They just don't know how to do it. So I always say you have to find the right brand that fits your investment and your lifestyle and everything else. But assuming all that, how do you know somebody is right for your brand, or for that matter, wrong for your brand?
Sure. Well, after Chad, has his initial discussions, I take people through really a 5-week process, and it's designed to provide them with all the information they need to make an informed and educated decision. But also during that time, I'm evaluating them. People are taking their savings out of the bank where it's safe, and they're going to invest it into, they're entrusting me and investing into the 1 hour concept. So I want people to be set up for success. This is a relatively simple business model, but there's some key things. There's a difference between an entrepreneur and a good franchisee. Someone needs to be willing to follow the system. 1 hour's case, it's been replicated successfully hundreds of times across the country. Also key with 1 hour is that this is about building a team. You can start off with, as little as 2 vehicles in a single territory, budget at another one, obviously seeing more customers each day, driving additional revenue. So someone has to be understand that this is about team building, and you need to recruit and then retain the staff that you have. So if someone has, say, communication, maybe skills that I don't know that are appropriate for this, that could hold them back, I may point them in another direction. If someone does not want to be in the office, I have successful owners that are managing the manager, but we need to address that up front. You can't set this business up and then have it operate, without management. Someone has to be the face of the company. So that's going to be, they may be a great client for another concept, but someone has to be there having team meetings, being the face of the company. So just kind of evaluating all those things, is going to help me determine if this is going to be the proper fit for an individual. And, the process is simple. I'll start with a webinar. I'll give them deeper insight into the benefits and resources associated with the brand. I will have them make validation calls. I want them to speak with owners and get their perspective on what a day in a life is of a 1 hour owner. Invite them to a meet your team day so they can see the power behind the brand. The people that are going to assist them through the onboarding process, and then on an ongoing basis to really make sure that they're on track to meet and exceed the established goals for the business, and go through that entire process. It typically takes me, 6 weeks from the time, Chad introduces them to me to go through these steps, ensure that they have all the information that they need. They execute the agreements, and then with 1 hour, not only is there a high return on investment, but it's a relatively short ramp up period. 120-day onboarding process, which I call Sure Start. Everything is taken care of. Initial owners training, vehicles ordered, wrapped, etc., software installed, and so on. So that effectively, after this 120 days, they are out servicing customers within their respective territory. So we go through that. We have a lot of momentum. They enter initial training with that momentum and carry it on to opening their doors and getting their trucks out there servicing the community.
Love it. Love it. Chad, any pieces to add to that?
I definitely like what Michael said, is, initially coming in to be able to follow that system. It is that system that has made the franchise successful, and someone, willing to do so is definitely a big factor that, Michael and I have talked about, and I've learned from him.
Yeah. I remember a guy that I had a fitness brand. There was a CPA. He owned a bunch of real estate, and he wanted a fitness concept for one of his shopping centers. This guy was such an ass. And the fitness brand, the first time, the VP, who I'm friends with, called me and said, man, he was like obnoxious, and he was late to the call. He didn't seem to care. And then I said, well, let's give him one more shot. He is obnoxious. He's not my favorite person, but maybe he was having a bad day. I'm not sure. Let's give him one more shot. And after the second time, we're like, yeah, this guy's not going to work. He's done. So I would imagine culture, you're thinking in terms of your culture. A bunch of your franchisees get together at your annual convention. You want everybody to get along, right? Isn't that part of the process?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the biggest benefits, of the 1 hour system. We have a great tight knit group of individuals. They all have their own protected territories. We all share best practices openly. And what you had just mentioned, we were out in Las Vegas in February. Several days, every owner from across the country out there training, sharing best practices. I host a town hall meeting every month, same thing on a smaller scale. And then our owners get together, one-on-one, in person, virtually all the time. And the culture, is not just with owners, but with, the entire staff. So if someone is going to be a distraction, maybe, requiring more than their fair share time from the operations team, because they're always going left when the 1 hour GPS system is telling them to go right, they're gonna lose time, and they're gonna lose money. And ultimately, franchisee satisfaction is tied to more than just making money. I mean, setting the proper expectations, what a day in the life is. And so we are careful about who we let in. We're selective. Yeah. We go through this process. It's not just who can afford to write the check, but absolutely being able to become and embrace the culture is extremely important. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. I always tell people, I coach people, when they say things to me like, I don't know if a franchise is right for me because I don't know if I could handle being told what to do. And I said, well, look, you either have an original idea that you need to be born and create your own brand, or you need to save yourself a lot of time and money by going with a successful brand. And what you laid out, Michael, is the natural progression or order of things, including validation. People have an opportunity to go into something like 1 hour heating and air conditioning with their eyes wide open to determine, this is something I see myself being able to do or not. I mean, it's pretty basic, right? In that respect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So tell me about when you guys both think of, let's say, your top 10% of high performing franchisees or top 20%. If you think about who those people are, the most successful, I would imagine almost all of them, or maybe all of them, had no air conditioning, refrigeration, or no air conditioning, heating, HVAC experience. And they probably came from all walks of life. What are some of the previous careers that some of these people were in, especially the most successful people?
Sure. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of people, potential franchisees, assume that you need to have a background in HVAC in order for this to be something that they would be able to be successful in. And it's absolutely not the case. Well over 75% of the people that I work with are outside the HVAC industry. They like that it's an essential service, which we talked about, the high return on investment, the relatively short ramp up period. And they get into it, for that and a variety of other reasons. I mean, I have a NASCAR pilot, someone who was in med school, engineers, attorneys, people with a tech background that are the CEO of their HVAC company, and even the contractors. And I do work with some independent contractors who have hit a wall, 1 million, 2 million, whatever it may be. And by having access to the same benefits and resources as our entrepreneurs, they're able to grow their business. We're able to get them out of the truck and focused on working on their business. So again, this is relatively simple. It's about following the system and building a team. Yeah. And it's a great vehicle for someone. And this business is extremely scalable. There's a variety of ways to grow. Later when we talk about the item 19, I'll share some of our numbers.
Sure. So, I would imagine sometimes, Chad, especially as you're fielding first calls, there are quite a few people that are like, man, this wasn't really my first choice, because home service brands, so many of them, it has nothing to do with 1 hour in particular, are not a sexy business. And somehow some people think they leave their corporate job or non-corporate job, wherever they came from before they became a franchisee, and they have this fantasy of some world where there's no hard work and it's just a sexy business, and some beautiful woman is now feeding me grapes. So apparently that's not it, right, Chad?
Yeah, well, and on the HVAC side, we've got a solid company, essential service, and when you think of trades, like you said, you don't necessarily think of that, maybe that necessarily that sexy business, but it brings in this, and as Michael will talk eventually about it, brings in the strong numbers. Again, essential service, and to your point before about who's interested in the business, what kind of backgrounds they have, and I talk with a number of different backgrounds, individuals that are in their house and are getting HVAC service, and then realize the potential in the business when they see what the HVAC service is offering them price wise and so forth. And but exactly. Yeah, they begin to see and again, as you said, it's not the most attractive business, but it's solid.
It just reminded me, Chad, as you were talking, Mr. Wonderful, who's pretty famous on Shark Tank, is pretty famous for saying money is sexy. And let's show me the money, Michael. Let's talk about the item 19. So for those playing along at home, every franchise brand needs to produce a franchise disclosure document. I should say their attorneys do. And it's a franchise disclosure document that has 23 items. Item number 19 is the earnings claim or the financial representations. And 1 Hour Heating and Air has a spectacular one. So Michael, share with us some numbers that are disclosed within that document.
Sure. Thank you, Lance. So 1 Hour, I mean, we are the market leader. We are the #1 residential HVAC company in the country, franchising almost 20 years and currently have 375 locations across the country. Last year, our #1 location did just over $22 million in revenue. And
$22 million.
$22 million servicing, homeowners, heating and air conditioning. And with pushing almost 400 locations now, average revenue per location was 3.8 million. And the initial investment to set yourself up for success, 2 vehicles in a single territory, 2 technicians, leasing about 1,000 square foot warehouse space, which is more than sufficient, ample funds to turn on the marketing machine, and still, having $50,000 in additional funds, working capital is $150,000. That's an appropriate budget to set yourself up for success with your first territory with 1 Hour. And that budget also has enough capital built in that if you reside in a state that has an HVAC licensing requirement, and this has nothing to do with if your techs are qualified, if they're going to be able to perform the job, it's just a license on file with the state that some require, I'll be able to secure that for you. It's administrative process, but that $150,000 budget has ample funds in there for me to secure you a license. And if you happen to reside in a state that doesn't have that requirement, those monies can be, applied towards something else, additional marketing dollars, etc.
That's just fantastic. Tremendous ROI. Let's talk a little bit about, I love talking about secret sauce, even in the non-restaurant business that Chad and I come from. The restaurant business, we always talk about the secret sauce. But in your business, I know like your call center, for example, it's pretty spectacular. Mom and pops can't necessarily afford a call center. So you have a call center that handles everything for franchisees.
That's correct. Well, I mean, I want the local owner during business hours. Someone should be responsible for answering the phone. But our call center is 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yep.
So if that person is speaking with another customer, is not able to pick up in time, it'll route to the call center. After hours, 3 o'clock in the morning, emergency service call, the call center will pick up and dispatch that call to the appropriate technician. So 1 Hour customers never go to voicemail. And it's a terrific benefit, like you said, because if people have a need, if they leave message, once they have that appointment, we have an extreme 85% of our appointments or call-ins turn into revenue for our 1 Hour owners. So having that live person is a huge advantage.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's fantastic. Chad, any thoughts, anything to add to that?
No, Michael's always got the coverage.
Michael's always got it covered. We know that. So we were talking about on the numbers. Tell us, I want to back up on something. When you were talking about Meet the Team Day, you guys call it Meet the Team Day as opposed to Discovery Day, same type of thing. Are you guys doing that live again now, or is it virtual still?
Well, we are going to be going back to live. It has been virtual we had one that we did live basically for, at least the last year they've been virtual, and okay. I'll host one a month, typically the 3rd Friday, of the month. We'll have a Meet Your Team Day. We've got one tomorrow.
And where is it hosted? What city?
Well, we have our, Mark Dawson, the president of 1 Hour. He offices out of Phoenix. So he's there. But then, I'm in Florida, Chad's up in the Carolinas. So it's a Zoom type meeting, just like this, right. A Meet Your Team Day. And we'll go through really everything. Like I said, that's their opportunity to meet the power behind the brand, the people that are going to be assisting them.
No, I was going to say the validation piece in concert with the Meet the Team Day or the Discovery type day is as powerful as it gets. And it's there's not really any mystery anymore once you do go through all that, because you're talking to real life franchisees in the validation process, And then the last piece, meeting the executive team, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person. During the pandemic, for those listening at home, a lot of brands shut down face-to-face for obvious reasons and went virtual over, things like Zoom, like we happen to be on today.
Yes, sir. And I typically invite at least one franchisee to our virtual Meet Your Team days. So it's another opportunity for additional validation, type questions during that process. But we also own 33 corporate locations in addition to our franchise locations. It's a great place to test out new initiatives before we roll them out to our franchisee network. And I have many, many prospects go and spend a day at one of the corporate stores and really just get to kind of, see what it is, a day in a life, seeing, how the techs operate, how the front office operates, et cetera. So that's another great advantage. Someone can, and it's great after someone's a franchisee, you can cross-train employees there. There's just tremendous benefit to having that.
Yeah. So how these days, a lot of people are talking about, a lot of people belly aching, they can't find labor. I don't know where everybody went, but some people don't want to work anymore. It seems like it, right? So what are some of the things that 1 Hour is doing to help franchisees staff better or
Sure.
find some of their folks?
Absolutely. I mean, in addition to being very good at marketing and making the phone ring and having this proven system, recruitment, so management, anything related to recruiting, training, and retaining your staff is a high priority for us.
Mhm.
Again, in order to grow, you need to be able to add a vehicle and then put someone in it. So at 1 Hour, we have our own internal success academy. It mirrors that of any accredited trade school. So it allows you, when you're recruiting from within the industry, technicians can go from level 1 to level 2 and so on without going outside, paying tuition, and the process is expedited. So they can increase their own personal earning power and their ability to drive additional revenue for the franchise owner. In addition, it allows you to recruit apprentice level employees, hire for attitude. So 30 days, someone outside this industry can be a maintenance tech. 3-4 months, they can be a service repair technician for you. In addition, we're proactive, very proactive in helping our owners grow. We recently just spent $700,000 with the various military branches to place veterans with transferable skills around the country, providing these veterans with a second civilian career and also adding to the strength and depth of our owners' teams. And this has been just a terrific source of staff for our owners. I mean, the 1 Hour owner in my hometown, he came up out of the Air Force, trained in HVAC, looking for a way to provide for his family, opened a 1 Hour. Now he is the largest residential HVAC contractor in the panhandle of Florida. So these veterans now we have access to, and it's just been working out great for our owners to add new territory, go into, different markets. So those are some of the things that we do to help our owners build their teams.
What I love about veterans, obviously, in the military, you're used to following some sort of system and getting appropriate training and support and all kinds of processes, and some cases life or death in a lot of cases. And last I checked, I was talking about this with the president and CEO of the International Franchise Association, Matt Haller, the other day. We did a recording, and about 14% of franchise owners today, 14% are veterans, which is way above, whatever the general population of the United States is for veterans. Franchising has a high percentage of veterans as owners, and they're phenomenal owners. So I'm thrilled to hear you have successful veterans within your system. That's awesome.
We do. We have a lot of successful owners that are veterans. And 1 Hour, we offer a 30% discount to all of our veterans on their initial fees.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. A lot of, and it kind of rolls into this other question. Well, why a franchise? Some people that might even have an interest in air conditioning, refrigeration, or heating, HVAC, they can go to a trade school, they can start their own company. So in terms of, again, that secret sauce? What is it? What about your marketing? What else are you giving these franchisees?
Sure. Well, marketing again, and I mentioned it earlier, and it's absolutely true. We are very good at making the phone ring. We're equally as good at building a fence around your customer once you're engaged with them. So you will have your own internal 1-hour marketing team. You do not need to be an expert in marketing. You do not need to know if billboards work in your part of the country or they don't. The marketing team is going to take care of the heavy lifting for you. We're going to manage social media, the webpage, Google ads, etc. 1 hour, we have our own marketing toolbox. There's television ads, radio spots, any type of print or digital marketing that you can think of is in there. And if you did need something customized at no additional charge, our team will create that for you, turn it around in 5 business days or less. In addition, you're going to have a Scorpion consultant. Scorpion is one of the top 20 marketing companies in the country. And so they're closely aligned with Google. All of this marketing machine is really designed to make sure that when someone in your territory does a search, number one HVAC company, etc., you come up on the first page at the top of the list. And that's what we do for you.
Sounds like a plan to come out number one. What's the phone number, by the way?
Well, you'll have your phone, the phone number to contact me. Absolutely. We'll share that, all the contact information at the end.
No. What else, Chad? Anything else to add to any of this?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, and you were mentioning, with back to Meet Your Team Day with Mark Dawson. I mean, that's how he'll start our Meet Your Team Dates, is on the marketing side. Eventually into the discussion, they know what works. They know what has the rate of return. They know they know the numbers, as opposed to someone having to learn this themselves and figure it out themselves. They know what drives the results. So it's impressive.
Chad, it reminds me, any entrepreneur that does things on their own has got to make a whole bunch of mistakes and spend a whole bunch of money going down the wrong path. Making mistakes is part of the process, normally speaking. But that's the beauty, to your exact point, that's the beauty about franchising. Somebody's already made those mistakes. Somebody's already created the blueprint for you to follow. And sometimes entrepreneurs, even in franchising, get a little too creative, because there is a blueprint, there is a game plan, there is a roadmap for you to follow. So thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
So I was going to say, any final thoughts from you guys today? Any final words of wisdom?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of benefits and resources associated with 1 hour. And we talked about a lot of the ways that we drive revenue, but we really also drive profitability. Our purchasing power collectively is $1.5 billion strong.
Jeez.
So that just translates into significant discounts on the front end, rebates on the back end for all of our owners. And, the best way to illustrate it is just share a story. We do an analysis for all of our owners on a regular basis to make sure that they're taking full advantage of everything that's available to them. We recently just concluded an analysis for an owner in Texas. He did $8 million last year in revenue. He saved $600,000. He was $600,000 more profitable because of his affiliation with 1 hour, buying everything that he needs to run his company. So as you said, the system is there. We're always learning. We have new owners that come in, they're sharing their best practices, things that they may have brought from, a past life, etc. But again, we openly share all of that, and all of our owners, growing together.
Michael, that is just a fantastic story, and I'm glad you injected that. And that is also, we kicked this thing off talking about best practices, and we're talking about best practices again. That collaboration is so valuable. You're not just one independent owner on an island by yourself. You have a whole bunch of other people that are successful, that have obviously the same goal as you. And, brands like McDonald's, the filet of fish and the Big Mac were created by franchisees, and the idea was brought to corporate, so to speak, to the franchisor. So that's the way the magic happens, is you get to share in those, in that singular vision or goal.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So any other final thoughts? Because hot brand and super cool guys. I mean, 1 hour heating and air. I mean, you're going to hit 500 locations before we blink.
We're on the way. I mean, we are having a very good year. Our owners are happy, which, is one of the things that I think, kind of, reflects on a successful franchisor. You've got, happy and thriving franchisees. We've got a great network within 1 hour. I'd be happy to. Chad is really the primary, initial point of contact for a territory check, but I'm happy to share my direct line. Anyone interested in learning more can reach out to me directly at 850-266-7096. I'd be happy to schedule an initial call so that we can, further these discussions.
And I have a special gift for anybody that calls Michael and uses my name.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, everybody. Michael and Chad, thank you so much. 1 hour heating and air conditioning. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being on Ion Franchising.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you, Lance.
Quite welcome. Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.